but I really like this whole riff because the emphasis on the how it works and you have to quit playing God, and we've gone over that many times, and it's not a belief it's meant to, if when you hear what we say, to let it apply and see what happens. Yeah, and that is, if the mental state is where the problem resides, and the problem for an active and even not an active alcoholic addict, but the problem is playing God. And if you watch the head, when you wake up in the morning, it may tell you there's no point to get up because it's all going to suck and whatever. But what is that but playing God? So something's playing God and it's speaking to us, sort of in a weird way, as God. It's pontificating, prophesizing. It's like a crazy weatherman, always forecasting stuff. And so it says you got to quit playing God. It doesn't work. All right, I'm going to stop playing God. But then the playing God continues. So what the hell? Are you powerless over that which is playing God? Because when you make a decision to stop playing God, you could actually see that as that thing playing God. So how can that which is playing God, and it may be called you while it's doing that, because the root of the problem, I feel, is the act of being identified as that which is playing God. So when that is playing God, here's the message: you got to quit playing God, or claims the message. And it sets out on a course to stop playing God. That would be playing God. You can't get out of it once you're steaming in it. Yeah. So, but it seems to be primarily important, because if not, they would have said, oh, the third step, and then, he is the director, we are his agents. And by the way, you got to quit playing God. No, it says first, you got to quit playing God. And then there's the principle. Why? Because the principle will not have a strong effect on us if that which is playing God is the one that's applying the principle, because it's going to have a God of its own understanding, which is maybe you'll get a date after 3 months, or a parking space in front of the meeting or shit. I mean, our possibilities are rather small when we're under that tutelage, let's say. So, yes, so that part to me is very important, because it frees us when we see that that which is playing God is not us. We quit playing God. It doesn't mean the playing God quits. We quit playing God. The playing God will continue, but it won't have much weight or power, or it will actually in time get lesser and lesser, because it's your godlike juice it's using to play God. So when you quit playing God, the playing God loses its influence. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but it's definitely going to be a diminishing as time goes by. So then we hit that. Then we hit the third step, and we make a decision to turn our will and life over to the care of a higher power, because obviously at that point, our life isn't under our control. Something has us. Yeah, alcoholism has us, and basically we don't have the power at the moment to turn anything over to the care of God. It's already under the care of the disease, so to speak. So we launch on a program of action. That's the sort of surrender. And you go into 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to do what? To weaken the control or the influence of the parasite, alcoholism, and to allow that unsuspecting inner resource to start demonstrating, and now it becomes suspecting. You become you see that something is doing for you what you can't do for yourself. I mean, I don't know how many times you need to see it to get that something is doing for you what you can't do for yourself, but whatever it takes. will be available. It will, if you just have the eyes to see it. So we don't, we make a decision. We don't do the act because we can't at that moment. We're occupied by the parasite. So 4 through 9 weakens it sufficiently so that that unsuspecting inner resource can start having a real obvious role in our lives. You may not be able to point it out to people, but you'll intimately feel it. That's something, you have a new managerial team, and then the false evidence that used to just constantly appear real and provoke so many actions that got us jackpotted now is seen as false evidence. What a fucking great shift. Yeah. So that's that part. And then he's they describe what happens when we sincerely take a position, this position of reliance on something greater than self. All sorts of remarkable things followed. We could have like a 4 month marathon of people sharing some of the remarkable things that have happened when they sincerely took this position. We had a new employer, which implies we were under an old employer. So we have a new employer now. So the parasite, or if you want to call it alcoholism, was employing us for its own ends. Yeah, we were a mode of transportation to get to the liquor store to get its fucking food, and so it was employing us or using us quite a lot. Now we have something else that's going to use us, a new employer. Yeah, and there's a couple of different qualities comparing with the old employer, which is being all powerful, meaning that which we were being employed by didn't really have any power. Actually, it was our power it was getting. So, being all powerful, what's going to happen? He provided what we needed. What a fucking great. Uh, it's like an active insurance policy. This power is going to provide what we needed, what we need. Yeah? If we kept close to him. And you can't be far from everywhere. I mean, where can you be? There's no special somewhere and everywhere. It's everywhere. So we already fulfilled that requirement and performed his work well. Well, you may want to have a defined idea of what his work is, but as you stay in the program, it'll become more undefined, and basically, most of your day will be the work of that juice. So we fulfilled the requirements. So the deal is this new employee is going to take care of us. It's going to take care of our needs, maybe not our wants, but our needs. Yeah, all right. What an incredible condition is now in place. Then it says, hey, established on such a footing, so now you stay with it for a while and you sink deeper into the principle because it's true and it works. Yeah. Established on such a footing, this is so beautiful, really. We became less and less interested in ourselves, our little plans and designs. And a lot of people always emphasize the word little because when we're obsessed with self, all our plans and designs seem rather big. So he gives a little jab to what we're not by our little plans and designs. So this is basically perhaps there's a better way. So now you're leaving the gravity of self, which is being completely absorbed in yourself, and now you're entering the gravity of trusting something infinite, which frees you from that bondage, and now you're getting interested in a lot of other things, and actually you are one of the other things, really, in this condition. So, what'd you say? It's so beautiful because these changes, more and more we became interested in seeing what we could contribute to life. That's basically what happens. It's not like something we set out to do. You may try to make it a discipline, but basically you're going to grow into this view. Yeah, by just staying on the operating table of AA and living this way of life. These are the changes that happen. Yeah. More and more we became interested in seeing what we could contribute. As we felt this new power flow in, this is, unbelievable, really.
Mhm.
As we enjoyed peace of mind. So peace of mind is available, but now we have the ability to enjoy it. as we discovered we could face life successfully. And this is what happens. Most of at a point when I came in, my fear of being rejected was so paramount. I didn't do shit really. I was afraid that it wouldn't work. I had such a low sense of my abilities and what could possibly happen in this life. I was listening to that which was playing God. And so of life, AA gave me a chance to take a chance and see that all this shit that was told to me was going to kill me didn't kill me. And actually, I felt a lot better after I walked through it. So as we became conscious of his presence, yeah. I hope that never changes, really. As we became conscious of his presence, I hope that stays the way for all of us, really. As we became conscious of, as we began to lose our fear of today, tomorrow, or the hereafter. We were reborn. This is like, all right, you're leaving the old gravitational field and you're moving into the new, and these are the effects. It's sort of like you're leaving the atmosphere of Mars. Now you're entering the atmosphere of Earth. You can take the helmet off. You can breathe, and all this shit happens. It's not a newfound quality. It's just where you've been. Now that you off of Mars, now you can fucking breathe, take the helmet off. Maybe you won't have to be an incredible, you know, surveillance of your own behaviors. You'll become like a free range alcoholic sooner or later. Yeah? So, we were now at step 3. And this is not even, we haven't even got to step 3 yet. Many of us said to us, our Maker, as we understood him, yeah, I love this because it talks about the relieve me of the bondage of self. See, it doesn't say relieve me of self because I don't believe there is one. It's the bondage of self. We believe so thoroughly that there is one, we're bound to it. But it's not self we're relieved of, it's the bondage of self. Yeah. And why? Not that we'll have be able to get that house in Malibu or feel great all day, but that I may better do thy will, basically. It's about being a maximum use is really why this shit gets released. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help. Yeah. May I do what thy will always. Who says you're not? Yeah. Maybe you are doing its will always. Who says you're not? It's the head where the parasite lives. But we thought well before taking this step, making sure we were ready, that we could at last abandon ourselves utterly to him. Now, I like to look at self as other than me. So, yes, I can abandon this book to somebody. It would be difficult to abandon me to somebody. I'd still be there. So, yeah. All right. Yeah, thanks. You want to start open up?
Yep. Thanks, Paul. We're going to open up. First question goes to Sassy Mommy.
You have to unmute, Sassy Mommy. We've asked you to unmute, please. There you go.
There she is.
Just hit the unmute button.
It's hard to mute a sassy mommy anyway.
We're getting it to unmute.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, wonderful. There you go. Kaiser.
Sassy mommy's out.
He sat all the way through that just.
Yep. Yep.
That was a nice song.
Oh,
Thanks.
that was wonderful.
Anyway, yeah, Kaiser. I'm Kaiser. I have a question for you, Paul. Frequently in these Zoom conversations, you've said something about you'll know the tree by the fruit. And maybe you could expand on that a little bit. And I find that very, very helpful, although kind of mysterious. It's a little odd because if I'm traveling lighter, I see that as the fruit, and whatever I am doing or whatever I am allowing to express through me, I don't understand that, but I'm traveling lighter. And then sometimes I travel heavier and my life can become very, very difficult with good or difficult situations, and then I see that as the fruit. And then to kind of understand that the tree kind of seems to be, what am I doing, or what am I allowing to flow through my experience? I found that very, very helpful. But if you could expand on that a little bit as to how we use a higher power, or how we use these steps to allow something that I don't understand to flow through. It's very hard to navigate, but I really appreciate, you'll know the tree from the fruits it bears.
Well, yeah, but I know it's the language, but again, we don't use the higher power. We surrendered to be used by the higher power. Yeah, and so I think that attitude's help is important, to see it that I'm not using the steps. I've submitted myself to be changed by the steps, really. So, and basically, when you talk about you'll know the tree by its fruit, we just read about a lot of the fruit. When you sincerely take this position, you're going to feel a new power flow in. Yeah? So, yes? So you
Yeah.
can't see what you can't. It's sort of like you can't see the body. You know the tree by its effects because you can't see the tree. I don't want to go into why in my how I see it that way, but so you get an intimation that something is in your own life by its workings through your life, yeah? And then after a while you get a different sense because it doesn't seem to sort of be like you. It's more like a win-win. It doesn't seem to be centered on self. It doesn't seem to be exclusive. It seems to be inclusive. It seems a lot more accepting than you are, and then and a lot of other qualities. So you learn the qualities of that which is moving through you by the fruit, yeah, in your experience with it, yeah. So that's how I see it. And then obviously, it's let's say it's all of the same tree, but there's two distinct branches. Let's say looking at it. One would be self, and one would be the higher power. And so there may still the tree produces apples, but the apples from the self may be little crab apple-y, little fucking tart, don't taste much. A lot of water, no real flavor. And then there's a quality of the apple from the other branch, which seems to be much more digestible. I'm willing to, and I share it with others much more than the other ones. And so, you know what I mean? So you start seeing something moving through you that's quite different than what used to be moving through you. Yeah. And maybe you have enough experience of the incomprehensible, pitiful demoralization that the other thing would lead me to. And then the joy and the absence of that from being directed by the higher power, if we're going to use the terminology of recovery. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm living in the fruits of that. Yeah. Because I can wake up and there's nothing ravenous inside me causing me to not be able to see what's actually going on with the hopes of getting something, like I got to get high or whatever. Yeah, so there's a lot of them. Tons of them. So yeah, I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thanks, Paul. I appreciate
So
it.
you can recognize when, like let's say in relationship with me, when I see the other person as them and I see them from me, a lot of shit comes up. When I see it as us, a lot less shit comes up. Yeah? When I don't see, her as her and me as me, but I see each other as us, called the relationship, it works a whole lot better. Yeah. That's the sort of an attitude coming from the higher power, like let's say gravitational pull. The other one would be her and she's out to fucking get me or whatever. Because this is what happens when you're in a isolated state. The potentiality of being paranoid and feeling like you're not going to get what you want from her and you're going to lose what you have, yeah, it becomes dominant. It's basically we're the Petri dish, yeah, and shit grows in it. If the Petri dish is acidic, then a lot of shit that can thrive in acid does, and what can't thrive in acidity doesn't. So the AA program changes our attitude and outlook, and all that's like the basic ingredients of the Petri dish. So now we become more alkaline, which becomes much more suitable, let's say, for compassion, enjoying peace of mind, and stuff like that. We just need the grounds that we are to be changed, and we can't do that. Yeah, so we surrender. We finally come to the realization that we're not managerial quality, and we surrender to be directed. And how do we surrender is by doing the working steps. Yeah, and we participate in the way of life, and that way of life changes us sufficiently, and we go through a process of leaving acidity and becoming more alkaline. Yeah. So now the parasite doesn't find a heavenly haven in us anymore. Yeah. It doesn't. Yes. And so you start, just before it starts laying its fucking eggs in the Petri dish, we see it as false evidence. And we ask that power to come in and fucking, you know, reconfigure that parasite. Stop it from squatting and laying the fucking eggs. And yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really tricky because my vision, when I'm doing things, I can kind of say I'm doing things, and then when the higher power or a higher power things start flowing through, it's kind of a new way of being able to see that, seeing the fruits, and then tracking back to what's operating. It's very, very tricky because I want to know what's operating, and I can't. I can see the effects in my life, and so that's why the fruit, that's it's very, very helpful to me navigating the different changes in my life by looking at the fruits, and then that gives me my key. I appreciate it.
Also remember, what really wants to know, it may not be you. So
Yeah,
you'll lose interest in that shit. You will.
yeah,
This is you're not at the end line. Shit's constantly being revealed and you're being worked on. You're never a finished model. You're always in the process. Yeah? Of moving towards, like that guy in the beginning of AA, an old priest. You're in the process of moving towards heaven and moving away from hell. Yeah. That's it. So you get a couple bulletins from hell all day, but you're not acting as if you're in hell anymore. Fucking far out. That's a huge shift.
big time. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate the language. It's really helpful. It's subtle, and we can pick it up, and then we can use it, or it can be
Yeah.
picked up and used. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Always good to see you.
All right. A quick thing before we move on. If you're interested in more about Paul, you can
Don't
uh,
go there.
I have a reason, Paul. There's no
I
need
know.
to be recording anything here that will be posted on zenbitchslap.com. Today's will be up later, and all his past talks are there. I don't have any questions, Paul, but I think that I heard a little bit of this, but why do we think that we have to put any thought or effort into this rather than
Well,
just
we think that because we think we're a doer. We're a doer. Yeah. And so therefore in the program's so beautiful, it uses obviously in the beginning, people experience this. For them to have right thought, it's preceded by right action. Yes? So that's the starting of most people's program of recovery. It's action. But then if you get to page 84 and it starts describing some of the effects of being in the program, things start happening with no thought or effort on your part. Yes?
Mhm. Mhm.
So in the beginning, because we're so entrenched in what we take to be the real, what's really going on, we use the action to get out of the actor, so to speak. Yes, we don't try to think ourselves out of it. We do something. Yeah. Yet, as we progress in the program, the doing hopefully is now habitual. In other words, I don't think about going to a meeting. I think which one. So, the doing isn't accompanied by much thought. You're in those habits. Yeah. And now you you see the effects that are described on 84. They has a different flavor than the effects described on page 63. It's saying, you'll cease fighting everyone or anything. It's not saying cease fighting everyone and everything. It's talking as if it's been an effect. It says by this time you will have ceased fighting everyone and everything. Yeah, that's not something you're doing. That's an effect of what we've been under, the higher power, yeah? And then everything it says there, the problem will not exist for you. None of that has anything to do with doing. It doesn't. It's just talking about these effects are catching up with you because of the way of life that you've been established in. Yeah? So, yes, doing has its role, hugely. But then sometimes, like a lot of people, I used to work with some people, they had to stop doing inventories. They were just doing inventories and going over every minutia of the day, trying to see what was their motive for doing it. And it was just a giant obsession with self marathon. So you'd have to say, hey, I don't want you to fucking write anymore today. Enjoy the sobriety. That's the stage you're in now. Your stage is to enjoy it. You're not on probation. You don't need a surveillance camera all day. Yes?
Mhm.
This is what so I couldn't have acted like that in the beginning because I was taking myself way too seriously. I had to do something to convince that I was okay. I had to do esteemable acts to start feeling halfway decent about myself. Yes, that was what was appropriate. Is that appropriate at 32 years of sobriety? It isn't for me. I'm not trying to produce esteem by the actions. I'm not. I'm not trying to do good things to feel good. I'm not. I do what I do out of habit now because I've been directed by the spirit for a long enough time that I don't need to feel better about myself as the parasite. I feel, which is what we need to in the beginning. Yeah, I've been relieved of that bondage of self. So I may do an esteemable act, but I'm not trying to get esteem from it. I'll tell you that much. There's been an acceptance of what I am and what I'm not. There's not like it's not like a credit and debit page I have to fucking go through every day. Yeah? So when you're new, it's a different ball game because you come in completely infected with this parasite. If you stay in this program, that parasite is going to get more, its influences get more and more diminished, and then the higher power will be more and more emphasized. Yeah? And then the rules change. Not the steps or the way of life, but the rules. Yeah? You don't have to. But what's the point? Yeah? What's the point if it's not freedom? Yeah?
Right.
We try to be free as self. The freedom that's available is from self. Most of us have tried truly. A lot of alcoholics and addicts I know have been trying to be free their whole fucking lives. But they've been trying to be free as self. We finally had that corrected. And now our freedom is from self. And the way to be free as self looks completely different than the way to be free from self. The way to be free from self doesn't show much effort and thought after a while. If you're trying to be free as self, it's going to take a lot of effort and thought. A lot, a lot, a lot. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Been there, done that. Yeah.
yeah, so that's it. You've been there, done that. And that's why you can accept the problem doesn't exist for you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Because you've realized you you've realized a whole lot by the time you get to the effects of page 84. Yeah. You get the sense that I was placed in a position of neutrality. I did not forge a path and arrive at neutrality. I was placed there. Yes? The problem does not exist for me. It's like a miracle. Yeah? Yeah, exactly. You're in a way, your life is expressing another functioning level. Yeah? Not a consequential, I've got to move this 500-pound boulder and exert a lot of effort because it's blocking my path. You're not on that road anymore. You're sort of above it, yeah? You see the boulder, but there's no need to move the boulder. Yeah? Yeah.
Oh, yep. You talked about that last week. I love this. You talked about bypassing, right? And that to me is you just bypass it. And
Yes. How if
down the
you're if
road.
if you're above the boulder, how is it going to block you? Yes. This is what's happened to us. It's a better way. That better way has lifted us out of something. Yeah? And so we can see it instead of looking from it. Yeah? We can see it. And when we see it, we have a way of how to deal with it, which is step 6 and 7. Yeah?
Mhm.
And if selfing motivates you to fucking act out, you got 8 and 9. Yeah. And then if you're a little worried about self appearing again, step 10. You write down about its appearances, and you also write down about the lack of appearances because something greater than it is now dominating your life. Yeah. And then step 11 is to improve one's conscious contact with that which is dominant, that has changed your life. It suggests two different things in the beginning, but after a while, I can look at it. It's raining today. I can look at the rain and sense the muffledness of the atmosphere, and my contact with that power has improved greatly. It's not only through two methods, prayer and meditation.
Right.
Yeah. You are that, I mean, seriously. What would happen if you only believed it was only through prayer and meditation you could improve the conscious contact, and you're a very antsy type of person, so there's no way you can meditate. Now you're only down to 1. It's only through prayer. Come on. There are 2 suggestions. There's zillions of ways to improve one's conscious contact. As soon as you realize you're conscious, it's easy to improve it. Yeah, how do you improve it? Not saying, planning, I'm going to go to 90 meetings in 90 days, but attending the meeting you're at. That will improve your conscious contact. Just attend the one you're there. Yeah, that's improving one's contact. Yes? I mean, hearing a hummingbird, that improved my contact. Yeah. Before, when you're totally in the bondage of self, fucking, it's heavy lifting. You're unconscious. You have a huge unconscious contact with self. Yeah. That's what we have to sort of get over. But you get over it. And then the conscious contact is quite fluid. Yes? Jeez. Yeah. It's not defined by, there's only 2 doors to enter the kingdom of heaven. Give me a break. You're a citizen of the kingdom of heaven. You've just had a working visa in the world of self. You've come out, you've come back. Yeah. Yeah. See, this is what happens. See, when we're sharing this, it doesn't invalidate what it's like in the beginning. And what it's like in the beginning isn't going to be the way it's always going to be. Yeah. So, yeah, it's inclusive. Yeah. And so people will call me and say, you can't share anymore. You're misleading the newcomers. Hey, I have more fucking faith in the higher power that I have, that I feel he'll use me any way he wants. I'm not going to, you know. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. Yeah. Take, let your sponsor give you a sober assessment and give you the suggestions that will help you wherever you seem to be now. That's not what you are. Where you seem to be is not what you are. What you are is spirit. You're seeming to be somewhere else. So there's ways and suggestions to deal with that where it's at the moment. But they change as it's over time, as it gets dealt with, it changes to the point like you're going to be placed in a position of neutrality with no thought or effort on your part. Yes. The problem will not exist for you anymore. It didn't say you vanquish the problem. It says the problem will not exist for you. That's a completely different direction than you going out and vanquishing the problem. You know, I keep having in a chokehold and then saying the problem doesn't exist for me anymore. No. Yeah.
Mhm.
Every time people share, they're speaking from where they are, and they believe where they are is going to be the way it's going to be for going on. It ain't. Yeah. Recovery progresses just like we say the disease progresses. Recovery progresses. The person who's there for the first month, it's not going to be like that in year two. It ain't, because they're going to change. But we want to constantly talk as if the way I'm feeling now is the way I'm always going to be feeling. It ain't. Yeah. We're constantly under review and being changed right now. The beautiful thing is that what's directing our change leads it to growth. So you outgrow shit. You outgrow fear. You outgrow fucking paranoia. You outgrow a lot of stuff that you were growing into before. Yeah. And the outgrowing is always implying there's a growing into. So you're growing into the ability to enjoy peace of mind as you outgrow the fear provoked by mental anxiety. Yeah, that's what happens. Yeah. If you tell me I'm always going to have to deal with me as if I'm in mental anxiety when I'm not going to follow that. Yeah. I'm going to enjoy outgrowing mental anxiety, which doesn't mean to be super surveillant and riding around all day. It means being fucking pretty chilled and in an atmosphere of acceptance because you're okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Thanks, Paul. Thank you. Jack G's got a question for you today. And we got another one from John. Come on, Jack.
Hi, Paul. How are you?
Jack, nice
How are
to
you,
hear you.
man? I hope you're enjoying the waterfall.
Am I joining the waterfall?
Yeah. I hope you're
Uh,
enjoying it.
It's raining right here where I am now.
Um, I have a question for you. It's kind of shifting gears, but it's from the big book. Um, you know, I've noticed lately, I've studied the big book for 30 years. And I studied Vajrayana for a lot of years. And now I'm listening to the talks on non-duality, and I've studied other religions too. And I think what's kind of happened is I've thrown it all in a blender and then hit the high speed button. But anyway, the thing that's been really prevalent these past few weeks that kind of keeps popping up, and you've already mentioned it, is acceptance. And the line in the big book is, it says, and acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. And I've been experiencing that lately, and I've kind of found it to be true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I was hoping that you could speak on that a little bit. I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Well, for me, acceptance is somewhere you arrive at. You don't go there. You live our way of life, and through living our way of life, it leads you to an acceptance where you stop trying to fit life around you, but you fit yourself around life. These are effects of the basic program. Yeah? If you do the basic program, it leads you to these effects. So I don't think anyone does acceptance. I think people do toleration or a transactional, I'll put up with this, but only for about 3 days or a month or whatever. Acceptance is more like a condition, not an action, yeah, in my feeling. And I don't believe you can produce that a condition. I don't believe I can, because well, yeah. So that's my that's my take on it. I arrived at acceptance on a level about Paul without knowing it for months, and then it started to become obvious something had changed, and I sort of came to believe that there was an acceptance as the basic atmosphere, not a fucking self-hatred, let's say. Yeah. So, and it reminded me of how I used to feel with my grandmother when I was young. And then when she passed away, it seemed like, and the mental state developed, I don't think I ran into acceptance much. I just don't feel it. And then, so when it became an atmosphere in my life, I didn't know it for a while. And then it started to dawn on me a lot of the whipping of Paul to be better, or just because he deserves it for being bad, stopped. Yeah, I wasn't being tied to the pole and whipped and gone over all day. And it was really, really an incredible atmosphere. Not to start it, and it was based on the starting point. Yeah, the starting point is I'm inherently okay, where in the mental condition I was inherently unokay. Yeah, so the starting point is completely different, relying on this infinite power. I start as okay, and then a lot of shit may not be okay today, but that doesn't mean I'm not okay. Yeah? So my okayness is not based on outside circumstances so much. Yeah? I don't mean feeling, oh, my stomach feels good. I mean an okayness underneath there. Yeah? Yeah. So I don't believe we do any of this shit. I believe we arrive at where we can express it. That's just my take. As a member of recovery, I just gave you my take. So, I mean, are you gonna make a vow today? I'm gonna accept everything. Fuck it, you'll break the vow in the first 5 minutes. Yeah. So obviously, it's not something that we do. It's something that we live from. Yeah. Yeah. And obviously, it's the way of life that we've been under that has produced that. Yeah. So what's so beautiful, if we didn't produce it, then no, we don't have to be so worried about unproducing it. Yeah. So we can actually really receive it and have gratitude and honor without the fear it's going to be gone in a day or 10 minutes. Yeah. But really just sitting in it and feeling assured of the power that's doing it. Yeah. So, yeah. I hope that helped.
Thanks.
Acceptance. Yeah.
The next question's coming in from John. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Paul? No, I just wanted to go back to the like growing out. So, I mean, I'm an alcoholic. I went to rehab 4 years ago, and it was like one of these boot camp kind of 3-month things. And at that time, I had to be told what to do every day, cleaning bathrooms, all this kind of stuff. And then along the line, I don't have to wake up and do the prayers and all of that anymore. And then somehow ended up on here, and then you described like the self beautifully, and I start watching that, and then the cop and robber thing, and at one point that was really helpful, and then at some point I was being super hyper vigilant about it, of watching the self, and I got to watch the self and all this shit, and then recently I realized that I don't have to do that. So I don't have to watch the self. It's almost like I don't care if the self shows up or not. And I'm starting to understand this position of neutrality, because I don't give a shit whether it's there or not, because it doesn't have any impact. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
So then it gets a little trippy, because it's like at one point it was super helpful to look at the self, but then at one other position it's kind of like you're talking about the boogeyman. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's what we're trying to get across today. See, when you start living in a day that you're in, you recognize the conditions that are changing. Yeah?
Yeah.
If you keep looking at today's news from a narrative based on 1978, yeah, you'll act as if you're in 1978 when you're in a much different condition today. See? So this is a part of recovery. You become flexible, and you can sort of know what's happening now. Yeah, and
Yeah.
respond. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's say for a long time I didn't have many amends to make, didn't have to do a 10 step. Then one night I felt this real in me, physical. Yeah. I immediately wrote it down. And the next morning, the lady who was my landlady, she had more time in the program than me. And I shared it with her like you would a 4-column inventory. I shared her about this thing. There must be something to it because of the twang I felt, and then looked at she and her. I looked at it. I didn't owe any amends. It never got out of the horse. Never got out of the barn, but the horse was kicking in the barn, and it took notice. Yeah, yeah. And then
Yeah.
I didn't write it for days and days and days, and then something else came up. Yeah, this is the whole point. I did all that right in the beginning, writing, so I don't have to do the writing now. Yeah, that's the point. Yeah. so so yeah, and you hope, like, it's so difficult to get this across. I hope I can in the Zoom, but let's say life every has different flavors, and you get to be able to pick up those flavors. Yeah, and like, okay, today basically nothing's going to happen, so you respond in kind. You chill out. Yeah. You
Yeah.
don't start, why I can't, or hey, it's time to make some cash. All right, get back to work, do something, yes. And then, hey, it doesn't seem to be working, me making cash. All right, chill out, yes, or whatever. Yeah, you start being able to respond to what's happening. It's sort of like meeting the Colorado River, yeah, and then meeting the rivering of the Colorado River. So, all right, you got the idea. Oh, this is the Colorado River, but rivering, you're going to have to respond to it differently. Yeah. Because you go into rapids. Sometimes it's nice and peaceful. You chill out there. Sometimes you can go with the current. Sometimes the current's pulling you over a fucking waterfall. Yes. So, this is what happens. When you're released from the bondage of self, you're not, it's like they say in AA, you got to let go of all your old ideas because the result will be nil, because every new day will be seen through the idea, through the old ideas. Yeah. You'll get the same narrative pasted on every new day. That's why it says you got to let go of all your old ideas or the result will be nil, because you won't see the resulting. Yeah. You'll be seeing it from the old idea. Yeah. It's unbelievable. So, yeah, in the beginning, we need a rigid lifestyle. Yeah, we need it. But it's not that, oh, this is what we get is a rigid lifestyle. No, it's necessary. You're in critical condition. Yeah? You got to stay on the operating table for 14 hours. Down the road, you come in and you have maybe elective operations. Hey, this would be cool if this was removed, this shit like that. You're not in critical care anymore. Yeah? You're supposed to be available to others who are in critical care and maybe show them, hey, it's going to get better. This too shall pass. Yeah? Yeah. So,
Yeah, it's like I don't have to worry about the right thing to do anymore. The right thing to do just kind of shows up.
exactly. So these are the effects. These are the fruits of the tree that we're living under now. Yes? Yeah. I mean, you see that, and what happens? It verifies the faith that you attempt to put in it, and therefore the faith gets galvanized. And that's the difference between sincerely take a position and us being established in a position. Yeah? So sincerely taking a position is how we first enter the third step idea. Then we get established in that. And then the results are different. Yeah? Yeah. It's the results get to such a point, it's like you've been reborn. You've outgrown fear and shit like that. Yeah. So it's talking about a process. We talk about it as if we're an observer of a process. We're in the process. Yeah? We're not, the observing of the process is part of the process. It doesn't, you're never going to crawl out of the river and sit on the shore pontificating about the river. You're rivering. Yeah? That's why it says this power is going to constantly reveal to us. Constantly doesn't mean an old idea that it once revealed. It's constantly revealing. Yeah? It's called a living message. We can call it a message about life, but really it's a living message. Yeah.
Right on, man.
And how are we ever gonna entertain that possibility unless we hear about it in our community? Yeah. That's why AA's got huge umbrella. It's a large thing. I'm not in argument with how other people see the program. Yeah, I don't care. I'm just sharing it for the few that may see it, they may see it this way. So that yeah. It's not like, oh, we're better or worse. We're just, yeah. What works for some doesn't work for all. You need to hear it in a different way. Yeah. I don't know if I would be okay. Some people are great now that they can go to a picnic and not flip out. Yeah, that they can have kids and shit like that, and that's great. AA brought them there. Beautiful. Others, there's irritability, restlessness, and discontent in that world. So they need to, yeah, yeah. This is what's so beautiful about AA. It isn't like you're going to become a cookie cutter recovered alcoholic. No. Yeah. I don't want to put one in any cookie cutter, but I don't want them to put me in a cookie cutter. Yeah. I like, as you know, I want to be done unto others as I would do unto them. I'd like to give everyone hey, yeah, we're not changing the steps or the principles. We're just speaking about the root of the problem. Yeah. If that's a problem with you, that's fine. Yeah. So, yeah. Thanks, bro. It's nice to see you, John.
Thanks.
It's raining here. I can't be outside.
Good. We've got a couple more questions, Paul. First, we're going to hear from Sarah.
Nara.
Hi, Paul. My name's Sarah. Yeah, I don't know if I can articulate my question very well. I don't really know what the question is, to be honest. I think last Thursday you were talking about the parasite or the illness, and you were talking about how it held us hostage for so long, and now that we have freedom from that bondage. But the way you described it, the analogy you used was sort of similar to Stockholm syndrome, where you've been held hostage, but you're still attracted to that, that captor.
Yes.
So, and I really like that analogy because, obviously, and everything that you say, it creates that separation between, the illness, the parasite, as you call it, and being free from that. What I was interested in really, you talked about being drawn back to it, and how, if I was Terry Waite and I'd been released from however many years he was chained to a radiator in Beirut, how would it manifest itself, even though I'd achieved that level of freedom, that I would be drawn back to that radiator. What sort of things would alert me to the fact that I was thinking, oh, wouldn't it be nice to go, back to that cell and back to being locked up to a radiator?
Well, what helps me is to recognize that which is talking isn't me. Seriously. You can preface it by a question of who is this that's speaking now? Yeah. I don't believe it's you, Sarah. I believe the problem, which is foreign to us, is talking to us as us. It's speaking through the words we hear in the head, trying to convince us to bring us to some kind of fuck it, where it can suggest to us, well, fuck it, let's get loaded, or let's go back and handcuff ourselves to the radiator. Because once it can compel an action to you, through you, it's going to compel more actions. Yes? It just needs its foot in the door again, then it's going to barge in. Yeah. So a lot of people let the foot in the door and they get in touch with me and they're telling me they're drinking successfully and shit like that. But I said, well, how much time did you take in your head to decide to call me or not? Yeah. You've lost peace of mind. You've introduced a fucking option and your head's running with it and it's causing the irritable, restless, and discontentment again. Just because you haven't gone to jail yet, that's not success. You're not able to enjoy peace of mind. Yeah. So I see that which is speaking all day isn't me. Yeah. And that's been very helpful. So it will tell me, oh yeah, fuck it. It was great shooting coke and having the cops break through the house door. Yeah. I'm going, false evidence. Let's move on from there. And other false evidence. Yes. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Remember, it's still talking to us while we're in recovery. The bondage of self is before alcoholism. It is. It's what alcoholism amplifies, is the bondage of self. Alcoholism makes the bondage of self an extreme version. Yeah? That's what it does. But the bondage of self, when you recover from active drinking and using and get some relief from alcoholism, you may not get relief from the bondage of self. Yeah? I mean, you may have the cold iron handcuffs may be switched to silver, but the bondage is still going on. Yes? What relief from alcoholism allows us is to get down to the exact nature of the wrong, which I have an idea of, which is the act of being identified as self. So what we're relying on here is thoughts, memories, and shit like that. And those things have been co-opted by that mental activity to reinforce self. So all day, what we're relying on as Sarah or Paul to navigate a day, that system has been infected. It's being used to reinforce the identification as self. Yeah? Yet we need to rely on things in a certain way. So what's the best way to do is recognize that which is speaking. At least you've realized it on one level when you'd go to AA meetings and you would hear people share their thoughts, their feelings, and their reactions to life, and they seem to be a lot like yours. So obviously, how could they be yours if everyone else had them? So you start breaking that terminal uniqueness and you start seeing that thing that's foreign as foreign. That's the freedom, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I had 3.5 years without drinking AA, absolutely still in the bondage of self, and it was the most painful 3.5 years of my life. But it's not like that today, thank God.
Well, yeah, because this is called recovery, not called stopping drinking.
Yeah.
It's called recovery. So the stop drinking allows us to recover from the underlying causes and conditions. Yeah, because obviously the drinking didn't work to recover from those underlying causes and conditions. They exasperated it, they amplified it. So basically, we admit, hey, I had it all wrong. Just like when I came in, I truly believed that a lot of my behavior was based on cocaine use. And then when I stopped using cocaine and I still acted the same way, I was proven wrong once again. I thought my solution to the problem that's funny. It's just funny. Now, it wasn't funny then. Yeah. Now, because let's say if your head believes that cocaine was producing the behavior, but really deeply knew it wasn't, it would probably want to keep doing cocaine, yeah, so that it can blame cocaine for those behaviors and not face up to your role in things. Yeah,
Yeah.
you would think. So the disease would want to continue because it really just doesn't want to get to the exact nature of the situation. It doesn't. Just like most people go out around the fourth step because they don't want to see their role in things because they're being driven by self and self doesn't want to be seen. And if you look at your role in things, you're going to see self's role in things. You are. If you do an inventory, you're going to see, you may not pick up on it, but you're going to see how self defeated you. You are. Yeah. And you realize it's been talking to me as me for quite a while. Sooner or later, you're going to see it. Yeah. And so, what? You've seen the emperor with no clothes. Yeah. It's not a lovely sight either. All right, Sarah. Nice to see you.
You too, thank
On
you.
you, Sarah.
Paul, we've got 3 more hands up. I'm looking at the time. I just want to make sure you're okay with time. If you want to take a break and then move into.
Yeah, let's just take a break right now. It's the bladder. I'm okay, but the bladder isn't.
Cheers, mate.
I'll see you in a minute or two.
Thank you. Hey. So thanks very much, everyone. And just as a bit of a commercial break, if you've never been here before, as Anne said before, Paul's website is zenbitchslap.com, where you can find all his books, all his videos, lots of audio. Under Arrest is highly, highly recommended. That's under a UNDER, then arrest A-rest, and it's about recovery. And it is a really, really beautiful book. It's wonderful. Also to say that we held this meeting twice a week. So Tuesdays and Thursdays is exactly the same time. So 10:30 a.m. on Pacific, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 Central, 6:30 p.m. UK and Ireland. That'll be 5:30 a.m. in Australia. So yeah, and also that he holds 2 other sessions. I guess you could call them satsangs, or they're more about non-duality, and those are on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Wednesday, I think from memory, is 7 p.m. Pacific, which is obviously that'll be 10 p.m. Eastern, and very early in the morning, stupid o'clock in England and in the UK and Ireland. And I think that would make it, I don't know, about 3 p.m. in 3 p.m. in Australia. That'd be great to go if you can get along to there. And then on Saturday, that's really good for Europe. That's at 1:30 p.m. That's an excellent time. So that's 9:30 p.m. in UK and Ireland, and 8:30 a.m. Sunday morning in Australia, 10:30 a.m. in New Zealand. So yeah, highly recommended. And obviously, I think there's a lot more Aussies and Kiwis that can make it with the coming of daylight savings. So that'd be so it's a lot more conducive. So yeah, so thoroughly recommend you get along to those. They're really good, and they're more, as I say, more about something called non-duality. If you've never heard of it before, it's well worth going. It's sort of less on recovery and more about uncovering the nature of the true self and stuff like that. So yeah, highly recommend that. And then I did mention that we've got. Oh, Paul's back. Okay, I'll shut up. Thanks.
Go ahead, man.
All right, Siraj is going to come in.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, Paul, thanks for just been listening, for today's session, and I've been listening to your in the Zoom sessions for some time now. So I'm an addict, alcoholic, been in the program for 20 years, and going to be 20 soon this Saturday. And
Oh, great.
I could relate, to I've not been doing a lot of writing. I've done my writing when I was new in the program, looked at fears, resentments, and all the manifestations of self. But I got the clarity only, when I came in, started listening to you, and the concept of, self-manifesting in various ways is what has defeated us. So I've been, I was doing the NA program like for 14 years. I had a sponsor in NA, and been going to AA regularly now for like 5 years. So I do both. I continue to go for AA meetings and NA meetings. My question for today, I just find myself highly sensitive still, like taking things personally and getting overwhelmed with situations. And today was something I had to come across at work, especially if it's someone superior or someone who's like an authority, and I feel threatened, and I like kind of lose confidence. And today I kind of messed up, at least, and I found myself, the resentment started. Why did he have to ask me? Why did it go this way? Maybe I shouldn't have told these. Maybe I should have answered differently. Maybe I should have not spoken. And it kept going on, and I could see and I just came across recently in a literature in the 12 and 12, it says it's a spiritual axiom. Whenever I'm disturbed, no matter what the cause, there's something wrong with me. And now when I listen to you with the concept of self being a foreign entity, right? And I'm trying to relate to this passage or the line that says, whenever I'm disturbed, no matter what the cause, there's something wrong with me. Now who is this
Yeah, the me
me?
that you're not. Yes. The me that you're not, or self. Yes.
Right. So
Yes.
somewhere I'm finding myself still, struggling with these feelings and with this identification, as you mentioned, exact nature of a wrong, identifying with this self, this Suraj, this person, and I am affected.
Okay.
What you got to see when the stuff hits, like you just described a 4-column thing before. You had a fear about your someone as an authority that you fucked up. You could just write that down quickly, see your role in things, and see self's role in things, and it's self-seeking and frightened. Yes, you're afraid that you fucked up and it's going to cause trouble, and you may not keep your job or something like that. Yeah. So now, all right, self-seeking, frightened. You've done it. You did the 4 columns. Now you open up to that power and let it rearrange you. And you'd have to admit you've probably gotten the progression is going towards traveling lighter than going back to traveling heavier, right? So this is it. When you're on the operating table, there are flare-ups. Yeah, there's times when that stuff kicks in. You have the means to deal with them quickly. Yeah, and then surrender it over to that power, and then keep moving on. We learn how to face life successfully. So feeling like I'm going to get fired, how I used to deal with that was don't go to the job, and then I would get fired. So then I learned how to face life successfully. I have a fear about getting fired, and then I go to the job and I do my job. Yeah, there you go. See, this is what happens. We're in a process of being changed. Yeah, and if there's if there's a fuck up, so what? You make amend and you keep going. Yeah. I obviously whatever you do or don't do doesn't change the current of the river you're in. You're going to the infinite, so to speak. It doesn't matter. As long as you don't drink or use, basically, or die, basically you're going that way. Yeah, isn't that nice to know? Yeah.
Going to
So this is why we have the way of life, and the skillful means is to deal with the flare-ups. Well, let's be clear. If you keep calling the problem you're the problem. Yeah? And if you're the problem, that's going to take a whole lot more work to try to make it the unproblem. Yeah? I completely believe, I don't care if it's made up or not, you have to see alcoholism as foreign to you. Because if not, you're going to try to be free as it. That's what happens. Yeah? As soon as I had it, it was very distinct. I was reading page 64, being convinced that I saw self as foreign, and it triggered something. I saw that as soon as I saw it as other, I mean really other, yeah? The next possibility that had been waiting there for years became available, which is I could be free from it. Yeah? That possibility of I can be free from it is totally crippled if you're identified as it. Totally. Totally. You cannot be free from that which you're identified as. It doesn't work. Yeah? So we have to see it as other so that we can entertain being free from it. And then all the stuff we do throughout the day, skillful means, everything like that, are moving in that direction, being free from the bondage of self. Yeah. Really, what more do you want? So you have it, you've been taken, you're in the current, deal with the shit when you start, you run into some twigs or some rock and everything, and you're going to get around it. Yes, and we just keep on keeping on. Yeah. So this isn't the idea that it's the bondage of self. Isn't a get out of jail? It isn't a get out of jail free card. Yeah, it allows the time that you spend in jail a lot less, and you don't have any follow ups to the courts to keep proving that you're okay. Yeah, it's just a quicker, easier way to live. That to me why I call it traveling lighter. Yeah. I lost you there, but let me go. All right, my friend?
Yes, Paul. Thanks. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, yeah. And then anytime you have no one to speak to and you're at these meetings after that, they have another fellowship after this. People hang here and, yeah. A lot of times, all of us really, what we need, because we're living under the of a belief that we're separate, is to feel connected. You know, it's an incredible balm, BALM, in this program. Just the sense of being connected with others. So, yeah. All right, next one, Ann?
Next one, we've got Vic. So Vic, if you can turn on your camera, I'll go ahead and get you to unmute. There you go. Thanks.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Vic.
Hey, Paul. So I was listening to what you were talking about, and as it related even kind of to like 10-step promises. And the end of that says, so long as we remain in fit spiritual condition. And I'm like, oh, well, right, like that seems simple enough, like flex the spiritual muscle daily and like this will work out, right? But if this purpose is to keep me in a state where I am conscious and separated from self, how would you explain fit spiritual condition, or what that would look like to remain in that space? I'm confident
All
you.
right, yeah. So ultimately, I believe we are a spiritual condition, and it's quite fit. What I feel is, to be aligned with that, we need to have a diminished mental condition, which is the obsession with self. Yeah? Hopefully, have your basic needs met so you're not starving. You have a place to shelter and shit like that, some clothes to put on. Yeah? Those things are met. So, and to, if you've had trauma or emotional trouble like that, hopefully get the help that will release some of that influence. But the idea of Paul keeping in fit spiritual condition doesn't make any sense to me. I believe spirit is in an incredible fit condition. And when the other conditions of Paul don't bark so loud and don't demand so much attention, that improve that conscious contact with spirit maintains the daily reprieve. That's how I see it. Yeah. Thank you. You're never going to get the mental state into a spiritual state. It's just not. It doesn't work. We're in a spiritual condition, really, just not thinking so. We just, because we think we're a physical, mental, emotional condition. Yeah, and the head keeps supporting that. So spirit, the only way it can look at its own nature, which is of spirit, is to be another condition I can maybe apply. So I'm gonna, like you said, work out. I'm gonna do my 2-hour spiritual workout. I've been lax for years. I haven't been doing my spiritual workout. I haven't. I'm going to admit to the group. I haven't done shit to improve my spiritual contact in years, because I'm in contact. I am spirit. I do stuff, not much, to take care of the physical mostly. Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm old. I love to say I'm getting old, but I passed the getting. I would say I'm old now. So move the lungs a little bit, stretch the joints. I'm good to go. but if my whole condition depends on my spiritual condition, then what more dependable of a condition than to be it? Yeah. Seriously, I don't see how, if it's the most essential part, it overrides all my other conditions, the spiritual condition, yeah, and allows me to have the daily reprieve from all the insanity the other shit could provoke, yeah. Then wouldn't it be incredible that that spiritual condition wasn't based on me, that it was an inherent condition that I've never moved anywhere away from, nor can I actually move closer to. I am it. Yeah. I would think that would be the greatest maintenance of a spiritual condition, to be a spiritual condition. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's worked so far. Yeah. So yeah. When I'm meditating, if I meditate, it's to lower the blood pressure, not to. It's not spiritual maintenance. I mean, yeah. So yes, that's just this member's eye view of it. That's all. I truly have come to that conclusion. Every other condition that I've called me seems to change quite a lot. Seems to come in and out, grow, get small. But the one thing I was seeing, that consciousness was seeing on my worst day just as well as it was seeing on my best days. Yeah. I don't think that is affected by the other conditions. I don't. I believe this condition of spirit affects the other conditions. I don't. If I'm a mental condition, the mental condition can really fuck up the mental condition. Yeah. But yeah, so that's all. That's how I see it.
All right. That's it for today, Paul.
That's it. Oh, good.
Now you can go play in the rain.
Oh, I think it stopped, so it's nice. It's a little, yeah. This is Northern California. Yeah, I'll show you. Hold on. Can you see some? Look at the color of this tree. Can you see it?
Yes.
That's a walnut tree. That's the walnut tree out in the back of our house. Yeah.
Wow.
How can you not? I mean, how can that not improve your conscious contact?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's like gorgeous. Yeah. And this is we have the ability, yeah, to enjoy everything. We do. We have it. It's not something you acquire. It's just hidden, so to speak. Because there's a preponderance of attention and interest going to the mental narration. So we're lacking in life's happening. We're more obsessed with life's happening to me, which is an interpretation. Yeah. So, all right. Hey, thank you. Let me say hello and goodbye to everyone. Sarah, it's a pleasure. Stay away from